some music going, and then we'll be out of here. Well, we'll have the boat in the water at least. I'm thinking... might be loud, so... All right. Just making sure that Streamlabs has everything set up, because the other day it did not. Chat was not linking up. All right, so effectively, let's make sure we're punched in correctly on Pyram here. Look at this little guy cheesing. Just making sure the mic's not being a butt today. So effectively, on Monday we took this little dude from bare primer to here. Just pretty good experience overall. I enjoyed much of the model. I learned a little bit about the Reaper Bones textures that kind of develop along the mold lines in those respects. There's a little bit of like some pitting that occurs where it almost tears. I don't know how to describe it. Like, instead of being a firm mold line, there's oftentimes like some waving that occurs in that area. Sometimes it's not even something you can perceive really well. But anyhow, that was just a little something to learn. Good morning, Tactical. But today I thought we would mix up some glazes along the same lines as how we did our blends, and effectively what we're going to be doing is creating some intermediate tones. Let me grab a brush here. Let's start with this brush because I just received this gift in the mail last night when I got home. One of my nice supporters ordered me this paintbrush and some carbon black golden acrylic paint. This carbon black. So I think we're going to use both of these today. Keep things rolling nice and smooth. It's always wonderful receiving a gift, let alone one from someone that wants to support your dream. So that's really cool. So yeah, nice size 4 Raphael. Boom. So we use this to demonstrate here. So what I'm talking about is you can see how we're darkest here, and then we have sort of a line. It's not really easy to see, but it's there, where the color changes to this color, and then it's this color for a while. So we have 2 colors right here, and then there's a line, and there's another color. And then it does it again as it goes up, and it does it again as it goes out. And these little transitions occur even more starkly over here. We don't have such a bright tone on the back side of the model, but we do have a starker, darker tone here, and then there's a line. And over here we're doing a very similar thing. Right along the 3, there's a bit of a line. And so what we're going to do is mix up a color that is a little bit of both of these. And we're going to do a glaze, pretty smooth, but what we're going to do is try to make a transition to make that line not so firm. It's all, we did a good, like, I tried to do a good job, and the better you are with your blending, the smoother this transition will be. But it's all fixable, no matter how rough. There's some stuff that's a little rough. You maybe just want to rip a new blend. But in the face here, where we have multiple transitions, we're going to be doing two. So we'll be doing a glaze that's a bit of these two, and one that's a bit of these two. And it's going to start smoothing things together, and it's going to create that nice transition that we're hoping for. And we're going to do it in a manual way. Now that I got all that out, Tactical, how has your week been? Get my paints together here. Apologies for my sniffles. I cut the grass the other day, and my allergies are, they've always been bad, but early on in the season is a bit worse. Always has been for me. Don't love this song. The most important colors for these transitions are going to be the Iosian green and the coal black. We'll need a little bit of black, excuse me, to do it. And we'll need the our off-white here pretty soon in the process, so we'll get that together too. Titus says boring, but that's normal. Mom has cataract surgery later. Cataract, sorry. Oof. Eyes are not working today. Cataract surgery later today. That's usually pretty. At this point, they've got that one kind of locked down, so that should go well. Titus says should be asleep to go with her later, but insomnia. Yeah, you'll still make it to support. So we're just going to come down here and start depositing some paint in between these two as like a reference. This first color is going to be really, really fun to look at. Start depositing some water right here beneath these two. A little more paint going here. Let's check our dilution. It's very, very thin. Now the more competitive you're trying to be and the smoother you want this transition, the smoother this glaze needs to be. I will say it's going to take a lifetime if you make it that thin. Sometimes that's what it takes. But yeah, this is quite a bit thicker. I think for a piece like this, that's probably the kind of pace we're looking to set. So let's just see how this looks. We're going to start down here in the darker shadows. And again, we have this line here, this transition. All I'm doing is kind of stippling along either side of it. And in some places, I'm just kind of stroking the brush from one side of the line to the other. I'm going to come over here to this other side, and we're going to do the same thing. Just along that transition. White. Until we can tell that we have a nice transition piece. Might have to add a little bit of water to make sure we're glazed. We'll check it out on our piece of paper towel here. Sadly, I think that's a little pale for what we're working with, so I'm going to grab a little more Iosian green. That's a better color, but we've lost our dilution. So a little bit of water goes in. Always, I'm always doing this before I apply it to the model to make sure I don't have a ton of paint, and I still have a ton of paint. That's better. Okay, and now the second line. Before, with the brush strokes going towards the shadows, now I'm pulling them towards the highlight. Because darker colors cover more thickly than brighter ones. So here we need to be depositing the most up towards the transition as opposed to away from it to get it to feather. And in some places down here along the transition we'll stipple. We want things to be more smooth. And in other places we're going to do more firm brush strokes. Up here, I don't believe things are bright enough for me in general, and I think as a whole we're going to try to be quite a bit more vibrant up there. Just grabbing some of that darker tone. And we're going to see about feathering this transition a little bit more. This is going to take multiple coats. Like I said, the smoother you were with your gradient, the faster this process goes. But it all just takes some time. You can see already this line is kind of blurring. This one is still quite stark. You just have to let it dry a little bit in between. What's more interesting is that here on the front of the model, where this is basically a shadow color, on the back side of him, it'll probably turn out to look more like a highlight. So back here, that's going to be too bright to just use as the shadow transition. It's going to end up being more of an up in here color. So I actually have to make something up quite a bit darker for this area. Because it's glazed and it's fairly translucent, it's not going to make a big change. Like I said, now it's much harder to see that transition unless you're looking exactly where we know that it is. And when we're working with the shadow colors, unless you're absent-minded like me, you should always be trying to pull that shadow tone or the darker tones towards the darker colors. When you work with a brighter tone, you pull towards the highlight. Once more with the brighter tone. Faded till smooth. Again, I think we're going to punch up the highlight up here towards the peak of his head. So let's start mixing that up. Actually, I'm going to start with a nice amount of this Iosian. How long do you have before the appointment, Tactical? Up here, I'm just kind of stippling a little bit to get a feel, and then a feel for the color that I mixed up, just because it's not as a, it's been a few days since we've done this, so I don't always get my colors to match exactly how I want them right out the gate. I don't know very many people that do. But I was pretty happy with this, so I'll go ahead and start to lay it down pretty smooth. I'm going to leave some shadows along the eyebrows in between them. We need to develop some contrast there before the face is done. But I actually rather like this color in general, and I think now could be a good time to, like, along this eyebrow here, just pull the paint towards the edge of the eyelid. Making sure that we're layering more towards our highlight. You don't need to necessarily brighten your colors in a situation like this, so much as make sure that you've fully saturated the color that you're working with. A lot of times when you're working with a brighter color, Blood Angel Callum, hello, good morning. A lot of times the color you're working with, especially if it's brighter in tone, won't show up correctly for many layers. Take many layers. Colors like red and yellow are very good examples of this. You can paint them layer over layer, and if it's over top of like a black tone, they maybe never show up correctly, no matter how much you want them to. It's 10:45 A for you, and And it's at 2:49 a.m. Oh, it's at 10:45. So I was going to try to do some math. Wait a second. You have to bear with me, Tactical. I'm so sorry. My head's clearly not awake yet. I've had none of this wonderful coffee, so we're going to get it rolling too. Hopefully my ramblings about glazing have made sense so far. Callum, how's your morning been? Grabbing some of that shadow glaze that we've been working with. Tagos says, I love your ramblings. I don't mind doing them. I get a little nervous whenever they're incoherent. Right, as we smooth this out more and more, I'm just adding a little bit more water to the mixture, but we're just being more and more deliberate with where it goes. So again, the secret, as always, get some of that excess off. It's almost like the idea behind when you're doing a dry brush, how you want to get paint off, but working with like very wet, normally wet paint, but it's glaze. It's about as wet as you get before you start washing. But the paint's still fairly thick. Callum says, I'm good. How's your day going? So far, not a whole lot of opportunity to go bad. You know, the end of the day yesterday, a beautiful viewer decided to send me a gift out of my my wish list from Utrecht. I got this new brush in the mail. I've gotten 2 new brushes so far this month. And I got some carbon black paint. Carbon black. Ciao. So I'm playing around with both of those. The biggest reason why I'm bouncing back and forth between these glazes and painting other aspects of the model is because you have to let them dry. If you don't, they're gonna go sideways on you. Quite a bit more of our off-white mixed in here. I'm going to start with stipples. Make sure I'm happy with the tonality. I think I am. And so I'm just running this along the very edge, but I'm also kind of stippling it in here along the highlight point. Also do the lower rim. I'm finding that I kind of want to go in 2 strokes, pulling it into the point where it's going to be the brightest, which is just here in the middle. I think that's turned into a nice little vibrant amount there. And let's do the same thing over here on this side. On his little squinty eye. Kind of like that. how nice and vibrant it gets to be. Concentrate a little bit of it on the lower side of the little crook here in his grin. I'm finding that that's such a small area, we're going to do little stipples to get it to deposit. I want to bolden up this little section here, this what would be his chin, but this color is too bright for that, so I'm going to hold off. We'll come back to that. Again, here we're not going with a more bright tone. I'm just trying to layer this color on top of itself to get it to show up brighter. And actually do a few more on this lighter side of the model where he's kind of looking off this direction. So I'm going to do it brighter on this side than I am on this side. And perhaps we can bring a little bit more to this edge as well. We're running out of paint on the brush, to be honest. So yeah, it's a good opportunity to get a little more paint. Callum says, is this dice from Reaper Minis? Yes, it is. This is their High Rollers line. And I think we're going to do a paint along doing each one of them. Start with the D4 because he's got, the shortest amount of facets to him. And I'm going to work my way through all of the primary and secondary colors as like a practice, like how to work with each color. Why we shade with the blue. So here we're shading with coal black with a little bit of black mixed in, just so it's just a little too bright for what I wanted to do. But shading green with blue is nice. It looks good. It's not super contrasty, but it looks good this way. Count says I might buy one. They are incredibly stupid and it looks fun. They are silly, right? So they're all the D&D dice and each one of them has their own class. So next we're going to do the D6. He's a bard and we're going to do him in orange. And then it's the hunter. And we're going to do the hunter. No. The bard is purple. The hunter is going to be orange. Yeah, the D6 is going to be purple, which is going to be fun. Well, I'm kind of liking these transitions. They're looking okay. Raise this back a little bit more. Let's make sure we don't have a whole bunch of excess moisture in the brush. And we don't. Try to center up a little bit. Here might be a good time to deposit some of that highlight on the chin. Here in the middle, I think it was the highlight to dip a little bit further in, so I'm just, instead of sticking on a stark line, we're just kind of feathering it more. Do the same thing over here. And yeah, they are kind of silly and fun, and I like that. Calvin says I like the mage character. Oh, did you notice he comes with a little, like, familiar? So, the big three, the cleric, the mage, and the fighter are going to be the primary colors. And the cleric's going to be done in a golden yellow, because I think it just fits the cleric. Then we're going to do the mage in blue, because it just fits, blue mage, you know. And then we're going to do, I think I'll do his familiar, like the classic white dye with the black dots. And then the fighter's going to be red. It just fits. So I tried to keep, from like a psychological standpoint, the emotions that the different colors might invoke in order. The reality is that the hunter got orange because other colors made more sense for the other characters, if that makes sense. Page's been sitting here since Monday, so all I'm really doing is adding a little dilution. Ask a question. How's the volume level with the music? On Monday, rumor had it was a little off and it was kind of loud first in my voice, so I tried to turn it down a little bit. Tagio says rogue, green, poisons, greed, etc. That's right. That's right. That pure off-white. Music is a little loud, but I think it's just the song. Adjusted the mixer just a bit. Let me know how it goes. Okay. And again, just trying to add a little bit of this shadow tone in here, which is just that pure off-white. We last left the stream kind of wrapping things up, and coverage isn't the best. One glove is very white, the other glove is correct, and this one's just off a bit. The coverage also isn't good. Just suppose happens. Making sure to saturate this shadowed area. And that white's completely dry, so hold up. Stephen over 60 says, my D4 was green, with green so far. I have touched it up some since this photo. Ooh, I'm excited, Stephen. This is transitioning. Let me just clean the brush out a bit. Let's find some white. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You got the shadows where you want them. You got your mid-tone. Absolutely. And so what we're talking about today, Stephen, is you see how you have that stark change between your shadow and your mid-tone? We're talking about how to smooth that over a bit. The important part is understanding where the colors go to generate the shadow and to create the highlight. For me, that's what gave me the biggest amount of trouble when I was starting with this. And it's the same thing you run into when you see people that paint like a non-metallic effect. The hardest part is to know where to put the colors to generate the effect you're after. You know, and then in time you can just, the rest of it, making it smooth, it just takes time and practice. It's good. I hope I get some time to paint this weekend. The last few weeks I haven't had time outside of the stream to paint. Coming in and hanging out with you all has been my only time to do any kind of hobby stuff lately. There you go, yeah. Got that more. It won't be much to do otherwise, right? Gotta find the good in that. We were gonna try to have a couple of friends over to kind of like hang outside in our yard and maybe have a fire without like breathing up everybody's air, but it's gonna rain all weekend. And ordinarily we just move things inside, but with things the way they are, I don't know if that's the best idea. You know, so many of us are, you know, hitting our mid-30s now, and so the people that are having kids, and the people that are starting to take care more of their parents are starting to do that. And it's like, you don't want to, it's one thing if you want to take a risk on your own life. It's another thing when you want to think about somebody else's, right? You can't, it's tough. It's just damn tough. Move these out of the way so I can get a little closer to the paint. So yeah, since these have dried, and since Steven's in here, right here, Steven, what I've mixed up is a color that is in between my shadow and my next one, and you can see the little line that's here. So what I'm doing is we're glazing it a touch, and add a little more water. As we go through this process, we can make this thinner and thinner. Take our paper towel. You can see I'm dabbing this off in the background and just getting rid of excess paint. Checking my dilution on my thumb. You see it's very thin now. Before we were depositing quite an amount of paint. Steven's so glad my girls are all grown up. Yeah, a time like this, it'll make you think about stuff like that. And right along that transition line, we're just depositing our glaze. When it's a shadow color, we pull towards the shadow because darker colors cover more thickly than brighter ones. I got a little too much paint there, so I dabbed it off with my finger. So we'll try that again. We're just following that transition, trying to feather it out. Make it smoother and smoother with each glaze. And truthfully, if you're following along from home, you can just do this as many times as you want to make it as smooth as you like. You just got to be sure that you allow it to dry between each transition. Each filter, I should say, of these glazes, because they'll start to tear, and they also they tend to dry darker than they are, and so you want to make sure you're looking at something accurately. I think maybe in some ways right here in this little nook. And I'm also thinking that this glaze, even though we're transitioning down here in the shadows, it'll make a nice nice dark tone up here in the eyebrows. Yeah, I like the way that looks. So we'll introduce a little bit of that along the eyes. You know, right in here where we left some of that shadow in the first place. Excuse me. Steven says, that's kind of what I was trying to do with my Saurus mount for the Dark Elves Knights. I'm going to have to pull that image up. But I think I know what you're talking about. I know I've said this a bunch of times already, but when we go to do our highlight transition glaze, we want to pull towards the highlight. Ooh, that one did it. That one started to make the change. So it'll be like 2 or 3 more, and we'll have the transition we want. It's nice when you start to see the work pay off. Down here, this little dimple. That's big. It's going to start. Now it's going to start coming together pretty quickly. I think I'm most happy with his little eyes. Mischievous little things. Too many Sprues in the house. Good morning, Sprues. How are you today? Pardon my sniffles. We're just smoothing transitions. As this dries, I'm noticing more and more that we've got this shadow transition smooth on either side, but right along here, I'm gonna have to look at the model, right along here is our new issue on this side. And the thing is, you maybe don't notice that there's inconsistencies until you get other things to a higher level, because the greater issues stand out. So now I'm noticing that this is our new line where we need to feather out. And over here, I've done just, I think in general, just a better job. So I don't know that there's too much more to be done. And a little bit of that has to do with the fact that the sculpt is cut the way that it is. So I think we've done this area as good as it's going to be for this particular paint job. We're not introducing any other colors. We don't have any more... it's not like it's dynamic like a human face where we need to introduce new colors or try to smooth things out. He's a little dye. And so right along here, we're going to be glazing in to fix this transition a little bit. And then up here, we're going to smooth out where we've sort of globbed in some shadow. Steven says, I'll catch up with yours. Glad for saved video. Yes, Steven, and also I uploaded the VOD to YouTube as well, and I'll be doing the same with this one if that's more convenient for you. That way they're available for everybody for always. There's a... Let me pull that up. Ooh. Almost choked myself with the cord of my... you know what? I don't have a link directly to my YouTubes. Oh, we got Nixton Minis. Good morning, Nomadic. That's really cool and nice, chilled, informative stream. Wow, thank you. Yeah, I've got to fix all of these links, huh? This is... Since the name change, I didn't adjust my... let's see. I didn't fix any of my promotional stuff for the lower portion of Twitch. That's silliness. Shows the bad at this. Alright, here's a link tree. And this should have all of my socials. If anybody else is interested in this as well. So in there you have my Patreon, my Instagram. Twitter's dead right now. I should start posting to it. I just used it as a placeholder. And then the YouTube. If you go into YouTube, the top video right now is going to be... The top video. Today's stream is brought to you by the color green. And I believe I made, if I did this correctly, a playlist for paint-alongs. And so in here, I'll put in Green 2.0, and if we should need a 3.0, I don't believe that we will. And then we'll do, because we're going to do all the primary and secondary colors, we'll just work it along in that way. Too Many Spruce says, Steven says, yeah, while I'm thinking about it, the Discord link. Oh! I'll get you on that. And Tui Spruce says, you mentioned dark lining the other day. Any chance on elaboration? Oh, yeah. We have plenty of chances on that. Let me get Steven this link real quick. DM. There you are, Steven. Okay. Let's take just the briefest of breaks. Actually, yeah, I don't know that this particular model doesn't lend itself to being dark lined very much. So we're going to take a step back on that. What I'm going to do, you can always use black for this. Steve says, thanks. I have questions for you on my other miniatures. Well, that's the best way to do it for me. Discord is great for that. I'm going to grab... Oh, no. I forgot. The other day. Pour a little out for the Sanguine base. We've used the whole pot. She's dead, Jim. We killed her. So we got this fresh one. The end of an era begets the beginning of another. But yeah, Steven, in there we're talking about minis, we're giving advice, we're working on stuff. So at some point it'll probably open up to anybody that wants to hop in. For now it's, you know, subscribers, supporters, people that are regularly in the chat. Get that invite. We'll do this over here. So here I'm just using that Sanguine base. And like I said, Sprues, you can use... I don't want to say, you can use black for this. It's not a big deal. I like a purpley tone in my shadows. So I take the coal black and I mix it in with that. It makes this nice dark gray purple. Timmy Spruce says rest in peace. What happened? Do we mute? Did I lose? What does rip mean? What happened? Can't just say rest in peace. Steve says my biggest issue with art is I can copy almost anything. I just never can create my own. I feel the same way all the time. And I think the forger. Does anybody have any idea why Spruce said rest in peace? The paint died. Oh yes, rest in peace to the paint. See, I don't want to believe in it, so I forgot already about it. Okay. What can we dark line? What to dark line? Oh, I know what we can do. This classic situation. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get some water, because anytime you're going to line, you want to have just a little bit of dilution. It's not a ton. In fact, just adding it to the paint is probably enough. Now over here on the paper towel, we're going to get rid of the excess. Just let it soak off. When we look at it on my finger, this is way too wet. Way too wet. It's not all what I'm after. But this is. You know, it's very thick. It's going to do the job. So I rather like that. Make sure I don't have a ton of paint in the brush. And then when we come through here and we look at these details, for example, this line right along his wrist. We add that dark line in between the panels. And here again. Just underneath here, and perhaps the other side. Like I said, you can use black for this. You can use any off color that makes sense. This little bit of circuitry here. You want to make sure that you have enough paint dilution to where it will flow with you and not fight you. Especially when you make a mistake. It's a tedious thing, but it's a very necessary thing to get details to pop, if that makes sense. Yeah, this arm here is a good example of it as well. Brush and clean up if you make any mistakes, like me. This makes sense, Spruce. Picking up what I'm putting down here. Steven says, plug for Chris. Everyone should be on his Patreon. He's a great teacher. Well, thank you, Steven. The Patreon was a way to kind of bring up things I want to get into outside of just the stream. And the first thing we have up, as soon as we can get my buddy's computer a little bit more beefy, this camera I picked up is a little more beefy than his system's ready for. So we got to get him a more competent graphics card before we could get this completely edited. But we're going to do lessons on how to get a model out of the box and get it to this point consistently. And I'm going to cover that process on, like we did here for resin. We're going to do it for the plastic, like Pyram is, and for metal, like so many of the boutique high-end stuff from Privateer and from there's many companies that do metal castings. Spruce says, yeah, I understand. So it's a bit of like pin shading. That's another term for what we're talking about. But, you know, pin shading tends to be a term people use for like large scale, not high scale, large scale, like tanks and airplanes and like Gundams and things that have panel lining to be done. For our little guys, dark lining tends to be the term that comes to mind the most. I suppose I could have been a better communicator in that respect. Like up here in these vents, like you can do a pin wash, you do whatever you want to do to get those to go in. But taking the time to practice and get them into like his little knuckles, for example, anytime you go from one object to another on a model, this is the way I think you want to look at it. Anytime something goes from like glove to gun handle, from gauntlet to finger to wrist to forearm to, well, that gasket would be a different color, but when it changes to another thing, that's where you want to be dropping a new line. And even though this is one color, you know, we haven't even separated things with anything fancy on here. I did not dab this brush off. You just got to be careful. You can either trust that you grab the right amount of paint or be smart and dab it to be certain. I say be certain, but I also cowboy it often and make mistakes. But yeah, that's what we're talking about, Spruce. And like on a marine like this, you could be in here for many, many days if you want to get them all. For a tabletop piece, you want to hit the big ones. You want to definitely be defining around the helmet and anything in this top pocket. And, you know, the rest of it is how much time do you want to take with the piece. But when you're working on something, that's the next thing. That's the thing that will take you from like this level, boom, as a big step up when you start getting your dark lining in. Absolutely. And we can go into greater depth with that when we have some more time. And if you want to hit me up on Discord, if you do try it and you want some feedback or advice, just DM me. Or I think you're in my Discord. If you are, just hit me up on there. Otherwise, I'll get you an invite. Callum says, I'm going to go. Enjoy your day. Well, Callum, I'm glad you stopped in for a while. Hopefully you have a wonderful Thursday. It's almost Friday, you know. Thursdays have always been one of my favorite days. I don't know what it was. I do know what it was. I was a little nerd. And Thursdays was when when I was in middle school, the Pokemon craze was at its peak for me. I don't know, like 7th grade, 8th grade, little Christopher. And Thursday was when they played at the comic shop, and so I'd walk there after school, hang out for a couple hours. My dad worked near there, and so I could just hang out there till he was off work and play some cards. But yeah, that was always Thursday. I kind of like went through school all week. I was like, oh yeah, it's Thursday. And Thursday was great because you know, had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday was a good day. And, well, Friday's always been Friday, right? Alright, so now we're going to get that brighter tone in the same way as before. But again, these glazes are getting thinner and thinner as we get better and better with our transition. So we're impacting the color less and less. Remember, I posted my Scots. Oh, yes, Bruce. I'm sorry. It's, you know what hour it is. It's 6:30. I'm no good in the morning. I couldn't say the word cataract earlier. It's... This is very thin. I think we're going to have to... I just got this new brush. My wonderful anonymous supporter. And so I've been playing around with it all morning, but I think we're finally to the detail where we got to step into a smaller brush. But it's an honor. It's a wonder. It's a beautiful thing. Okay. So yeah, we're stepping down to a size 2. Spruce says, "Don't worry, man." Well, thank you. Try not to sweat it. I think we've exhausted, for the most part, our glaze that we had here, so I'm just gonna mix up a little bit more. I know we don't want this shadow tone, but it needs to be a part of our paint. If you still want to have a little bit of that previous color in there. That coal black, that little bluish hue. A little bit of this dilution in there. Brush and come back at it. Try to get enough paint to get things rolling here. Just let me move this over here a little bit. I'm just like that. Check that dilution. Very thin, but good. Steven says, "I just have to figure out how to connect a video camera up so that folks can watch how I paint things with all my mistakes without spending more money." Yeah. All I have is an iPhone right now. You can connect your iPhone directly to your computer by not using OBS slobs, Streamlabs OBS, but you can use, I believe, you can connect it directly to OBS Studios, but I believe that is a paid application. Well, there might be a way around that, but we'll look into that. Just working that transition the other direction. Stipples in the shadows because we don't want it to be opaque, but we do need it to transition to the next color. We got Risky Paint says, "Hey Nomadic, cool mini, first time here." Well, first timer, welcome in. How are you today? We are working on a little paint along. This is 2.0. Talking about the color green. Yeah. What brings you in today? Are you a painter or do you just like tiny little heroes? And if you'd like, I'll give you a tour around the desk of things that I normally paint. Also, while we're at it, I'm going to apologize because my Instagram link is not correct right now. And that's my fault. I found that out this morning. I will send you this link. Ka-chow. It's a link tree. It should have a link to all of my socials. If you want to check out things that we paint normally in here, that's how you do it. And as soon as I get this glaze off my brush, I'll show you some stuff I paint. Again, this is a higher light of a tone, and so we're pulling it towards the brighter areas of this transition. I'm going to stipple a little bit of this color down into the shadow. Even though it doesn't belong down there, it's sometimes important to see that it's present. Risky Paint says, good, cheers, just chilling and looking at painting streams while I wake up. Yeah, I paint minis. Just started getting into streaming to help my painting progression. Well, it is a wonderful accountability tool. Too many Sprues with the subscription. Thank you so much, Sprues. Keep the paints flowing and the lights on in here. That's wonderful. Risky, if you would like, feel free to link up an Instagram of any of your work. We always like to look at other artists and what they're doing. Uber Eames comes in and says, remember the question, does the soap from the brushes in your paint water do harm? I do, and I don't believe it's enough to damage you. I stay firm on that, Uber Eames. Vince Venturella actually armed it recently. It even helps. There you go. It even helps. You know, I don't think you want to consume the soap. I think it has some antifreeze in it. Armed answered it recently. It's I don't even know what to say. I know I don't know, and you can see that these transitions are starting to. Did I bump my camera? Sorry if it did. You can see that things are starting to smooth out more and more between these transitions as we glaze and glaze. You can also see that we've been doing this for an hour. Not that it was purely glazing, but you can see how slow it is and how the build-up takes time. Yeah, anybody, Sammy Grace, long time no chat, good morning. Anybody in here that's streaming, we got Sammy Grace, we got Too Many Sprues, we got Risky Paints talking about a new stream. Anybody in here, I don't know if Tactical's still lurking or even in the streaming frame of mind these days, but link up your streams. Follows are free, people. Hook them up. We got a tight-knit network. Get in there, Risky. We're talking Instagram, we're talking YouTube, we're talking Twitch. Get them in there. Nixton says, could I have a Discord link? You surely could. Yeah, maybe we're just taking a minute here while I let that stuff dry. Let me also, while we're talking about this, fix my Instagram panel. Such an oversight on my part. There, that's better. Wig face. Sammy Grace is now coming in with that host. Get this rolling here. Whisper. What is Discord even? That link will work. Let me know if it doesn't. I bumped a button on the keyboard and may have made it not work. But yeah, Nixon, that ought to be out for you. And Steven says, time for drugs. Have a great day, Steven. You enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and we'll catch up with you throughout the day. And well, we're in Discord now. We know what it is. We'll be chatting. Sammy Grace says, yeah, all the socials. I want to see more socials linked. I've seen roughly none. Wigface says, how goes it, Maine? Love the little guy. Very different for you. Absolutely. Wigface getting those links up. No doubt. Spruce says, don't worry about stealing people. What's it say? Stealing people. We're a friendly community who love sharing the hobby, right, Chris? Yes, we are. Insta works. Yeah, anybody working, if you stream or don't stream, if you got social media with your paint, we want to look at that. I know some people have rules about like promoting your stream when you're in another stream, and I don't care. I just don't have the time. I actually like it. I like when other streamers roll in. Some people care incorrectly about the wrong things. Sharing is caring. That's right, Sammy. 2 seconds. You just. All right. All my non-Twitch socials are Sammy Grace TV because Sammy Grace was taken. The biggest reason for my name changes were to unify. Get a little more green here. Mix this up a bit brighter. Your colors might be different in transition when you're working on your pieces from home, but straight up, it's just a matter of finding out what the transition is that you're working on. So here, let me do this first. Here we're working this transition right here, and so that's what I've mixed up as a color between those two. And again, you just want to pull from the darker color to the brighter color. Unless you're working, the glaze you're working is a darker tone, and then you go the other way. This particular one is more complicated because it's not just a straight line. It's like it's here, and then it's down here on the lip. In some way, it's right here by the chin. Grace is looking good though. Smooth as a baby's bottom. I don't know. I don't know how to say smooth. Smoother than the butter on a muffin. Deposit a little bit of this up here to some way make this transition smoother. Yeah, I think the more interesting thing is we're kind of pocketing the light in the face, and I think that's the focus. All right, we got Wigface showing work, we got Spruce showing work. Oh yeah. I gotta get my Instagram logged in here on the computer, but I will like your current works, guys, as soon as we get out of the stream. Crinkle. Spruce says, can't get my Twitch link when using phone. Meh, just click on my name. Oh, that's true. Yeah, Spruce is a Twitch streamer, so just right-click and follow. It's a good way to do it. Risky Paints finally got that Instagram up there. It says busy, just uploading some more recent pics. Absolutely. I'm just trying to be painting, so I'll get that check taken here in just a moment. We're just taking some shadow color here and packing it into these little dimples. I like the effect I was getting more subtly with the glazing, but I think I need to generate a more stark transition here, and then we can glaze the transitions if needed. But again, glazing's so slow. It's so good, but it's just so slow. A little bit under that chin. Maybe, I don't know. This might go poorly and we'll change our mind, but I'm going to try to sink this shadow color up here underneath the old lip. Let's make sure this works out before we even consider having you all do it. We might be going back. How do I get this angle? This is weird because I got to turn them this way, but my camera's over here. Maybe I'll sit like this. Try to keep my. You all know what I'm doing. Timmy Spruce says, "Yeah, a lot of my work are in different people's discords. I need to put it all Insta at some point. Yeah, try glazing with the faces on my scouts." Glazing is an interesting finishing technique. I think it is probably one of the best, but it is so darn slow. Because if you want a fast result, it's too opaque. That helps out a lot. All right. Let's get a look at what Risky's working on. Never gonna, ever since I had to do my operating system restore, I'm just not gonna get used to it. I'm just gonna continue to click links and wonder why don't they work. Okay, where Risky _ paints are SKY. Boom. Got here. Got some shambling hordes. I like that diorama you got them on. So like a movement tray? Nemesis. Mantic. I have a Hellboy Mantic on my desk. Actually, my very first YouTube actual, not like Twitch export, is going to be on a Mantic Hellboy. Just a quick video on model prep. Nixon says, I haven't streamed for 3 months, but back at the end of May, would have been streaming 2 years by now. Oh my, that's going to be good that you're back at it though. Risky says, Spruce dropped you a follow. There you go. That's the way to do it, Risky. And here at the end, I'll get you you'll get a follow from me as well. But let's pan out a second. Let's take a look at what's on the desk. So we're doing Pyram as our paint along. Having a good time with that. Steady yourself. Give everybody seasick here. We have an Alpha Legion commission that we're working on. Shiny as can be. But we got that blue fade in the shadow, the greenish highlight in the top, which was interesting as all get out to do in true metallic. We've got a Fallen Angel commission. power sword is getting worked on currently. Chow, chow, chow. Distressed leather. Little non-metallic effect on the shoulder pad. A little glowy effect on the plasma. We got some non-metallic purple we're rolling in with here on the talons of Drycha. She's looking good. Let me get her off to the side. Let's fix the music and catch up with chat. Sammy says needs to be more regular on Insta. We all do. We all do. Risky says they're looking to get into glazing more and wanting to start doing this. Really useful to watch. Well, thank you. Yeah, I try to be all education and less like, hey, just donate to me. But yeah, we get us so sadly, and then I just turn around and say it. I have a Discord for my subscribers, just because they tend to get really big and a lot of side chat. So I just use that as a way to keep it sort of dedicated to painting. And then get the music going again. Good. And yeah, I talk a lot about different techniques. So glazing is a finishing technique, but a wet blending is how you get to the point where I think you should be glazing. He says multi-base movement tray. Damn, that's a real nice mini. This is my Sorsha bust. She's work in progress, but this is an example of me trying real hard. I like this model quite a bit. Spruce says, yeah, that's what I love about this community. Lots of us are willing to help each other, including me. I may not know as much as Chris, but I'm happy to help people as well as learn from others. And the important thing, Sprue, let me finish with chat, and then I'm gonna expand on that. Risky says, feeling good about finding this stream. That is what it's all about, helping each other. And yeah, ha! And then Inks the Kitsune rolls in, talking about how nice this community is. We got Risky Paints in here, Inks, another a newer streamer, a mini painter, and when you talk about great people in the community, you got to talk about the Kitsune here. Inks is a wonderful person, and a little bit of the lifeblood in the Twitch community as far as creative goes, at least in our little niche world. Yeah, so here is an example of wet blending to get your highlights and then glazing to get truly saturated color. You know, red is one of those colors that very rarely shows up in its natural state. It's like the weakest of all the colors, but it's also probably the most beautiful. You touch it with a drop of orange or a drop of white, and you get orange, you get pink very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. So to get it to stay red is rare, and that's why it looks so beautiful in its pure form, right? Sprue just yells, Jade, that's right. Thanks, where have you been all day? 8-Bit Workshop says that's a great figure, which sounds almost creepy as it's a bust. I know what you mean, though. We know what you mean, though. But yeah, getting the red to saturate the way that it does. It's like blue can take almost an impossible amount of white and stay blue, but just get brighter. Meanwhile, over here in the red category, things are different. Speaking of blue, we got a Borka bust. A little more crudely in work in progress, but coming together. I need to actually pick this up and make some more progress on him. Skin tones. You know we work on skin tones in here. This is probably my favorite as far as just an artistic. I never even worked at refining this. We worked on it. It's rough, it's crude, but we mixed all of this flesh tone by hand. And yeah, it's very crude here in the shadows and needs a lot of refinement, but it was nice to make him look lit on one side. Without a doubt. And so we talk about mixing our own skin tones and how to do that. Over here, for example, we're working on underpainting green with blue. If you have an ounce of color blindness towards green, you probably don't see a difference here. It is too subtle, but it is if you can see the transition, it is maddeningly satisfying to notice. But that said, I think to do it again, I would go with a starker transition. Ink says, "Hey, the sprue. Been walking the dogs and looking after my eyes." That's good, Inks. Getting out of the house a little bit, taking care of the pups. Nixton says, "I love Troll Bloods. Just had Prophecy of the Wolf turn up. Oh, first time doing Space Wolves. I would love to paint that with the named Space Wolf out of that box. Is his name Ragnar? Black name? Ragnar? Something. You can tell me. I absolutely love that model. That might be the best model Games Workshop's ever produced. And that's saying something in a box that comes with Gozskull Thraka. Just another great model. He's just way more dynamic." Spruce says, "Fair enough. I'm booting up the laptop." What happened? Yeah. Here's a model I'd like to finish at some point here soon. Made this base. Nice muddy terrain. What do you guys think? I want a tutorial on how to do this. This is easy. Quick work. You can knock this out across a lot of... You can do a squad worth of these and not much more time than it would take you to do just this one. I am going to change this song. This song's my nemesis. Every time this little beat comes up. Just plays these noises. I don't get it. Who wants that? We're painting something green today. Pyram. Let's at least touch base on these other transitions here in the back of the model. So this transition here, and I think actually where I'm going to start is with a little bit of Iosian with a touch of the coal black. So fairly, though this would be a shadow tone for the front of the model, I think we're dealing with a reasonable highlight for the back. We're gonna take a step back here and try to actually create a little bit of a highlight here, a third color. Which will be more of a mid-tone from his face. So it's more like this color here. But on the back of the piece, it looks like a highlight color. And what that'll do is if somebody picks him up, is they'll see, you know, the back of the piece, but they won't be attracted to it enough to like spend time looking at it. And that's a little trick. Make things desaturated or darker, and in some way it'll push people's attention to the places that you do want to spend the time painting, like the face. Like on some pieces they're all like most dwarves are like they're a beard and an axe, right? The rest of the model doesn't matter so much. This color is more of a mid-tone. It's not nearly vibrant enough for the transition. It might. Yeah, we're gonna have to come back through with some shadow color, but we're not being nearly as caring back here on this side of things. Playing with much more muted and desaturated tones to make it less appealing. But up here, we care very much. Again, on the back of the model, it doesn't mean paint it sloppily. It just means you can take the time to be smooth with your paint. But when you desaturate and make things darker, it's just like, if you ever turn your smartphone onto black and white mode, you'll pick it up far less often, because when you go to, like, you've ever done that thing where you pick up your phone, open up Facebook, and start scrolling, and then you realize, I'm not even reading any of this, why am I doing it? And you put it down, and then, like, I find myself picking it back up and doing it again. But if you turn it to, for example, let me see my news. Black and white is less appealing to look at. Shine My Helmet says, "Hey, what's up, dude? Is it just me, or is your mic volume a bit low?" It might be low. You let me know. We might be popping. We'll see how it plays out. Yeah, I don't keep my volume levels super high, but I probably need to get like a mixer of some sort to truly be doing it. Nixon says, at Nomadic, any suggestions for the workup on the armor on the Space Wolf? Gauze Skull is the main reason for the purchase. I still have a few pots of Space Wolf gray. It depends on how vibrant you want that gray to become, truthfully. The hardest part is that Space Wolves are so vibrant in that blue. So it's hard to want to do the shadows correctly. I think my approach would be to find a darker gray and do the whole model in that. Do you airbrush, Nixon? Let's start there. Risky says, loud and clear from me, my dude. My guy. There it is. Well, the other thing is, if Shine My Helmet rolled in from another stream, I may be coming across real subtly. I also, because for me it is 7 in the morning and I'm waking up, I don't always... I can find it real easy to just kind of turn into the late night FM DJ and just do that for a while. But sometimes you gotta start slinging some. Just wake up and start making some noise. Ink says a lot of people prefer a darker gray for the Space Wolves. That's good. Shine says it was on my end. Am I coming through too loud now? So I did touch the volume. I'm not touching anything. You tell me. Yeah, Nixon, it does depend on your preference, and we can cover it from there. It's hard to say like one way or another is the right answer with that. Nixon says, yes, I airbrush. I pretty much have all brands of paint. Then what I would do is I would lay down the... has a name. Fenrisian gray is like their highlight color. If you want to go for like the studio scheme, I would just take that dark neutral gray, that blacker blue gray, and put it all over, and then I would just airbrush brighter and brighter into that Fenrisian. Yeah, Risky Paints. Did you just unlock it, or did you sub to me and I didn't notice? Orthober Studios, look out! Defend! Good morning, Orthober. How's everybody doing? Sadly, for this particular paint along, it's been brought to you by Chatting and Not Painting. Orthober says, good morning, my friend. Well, good morning, sir. I hope you had a all right week. You know, we're rolling into Friday here soon. I love this little dude. We got the practical Zaku 36. Hello and good morning. Well, good morning, Zaku. Or do you go by practical? Or is it the whole thing every time? I don't know. I don't know the rules. With Ober says dark neutral gray. I just finished using that. It's like it's not black. Gray is weird like that though. Using the edge of my brush to in some way apply like an edge highlight along the side of the old boy here. Nerd says, show me the mixer. He's not here yet. He's not here yet. He's shipped. Relax yourself. It's not time. Nerd, good morning. Let me find it. We're not getting anything done today. Find my orders. Rolls in. Oh, could it be any closer? Out for delivery. Delivery. Nerd says we cannot be mixer buddies yet. No, not yet. For those of you that weren't present, last week we got a beautiful... Well, we had a wonderful discussion about Vortex mixers, and I was dropping some serious hate on them because that's what I do. Nerd, the 4Es was going to take several weeks to get here, so I ended up getting the other one, the... Lab Genius or Lab whatever. The Zaku. Let me catch up here. Shine My Helmet says, I'm kind of starting out with all this. What kind of washes do I need to get? Bye for now. Let me get to that. First off, you don't need a bunch of paints. I'm very against it. It's like people like to play Pokemon with the paints, and the reality is you don't need to do that. But I will give you some. We'll expand upon that here in just a minute. Nixon says, I wouldn't mind doing mine a darker gray just to be different, as this is for my own project. Nixon, take a look at the meth of making art. They do some of the best miniatures on the planet, and he's working on that exact miniature right now. Excuse me. Just a different... Yeah, it is the same. I know it's the same. We can be Vortex Associates. There it is. Paint mixing associates. Nerd says to shine my helmet. You don't need a huge amount of stuff. I fully agree. Yeah. For Bi says, hey, Nomadic. Have been here in semi-lurk this morning. I'm getting ready for my first meeting with my transplant team. Oh, so we'll leave the system connected. Thanks for the stream. I will catch you later. For Bias, I didn't realize you were going through all that, and I hope things go well. Nixon says, do you have their link? We'll get that link. As far as the paints go, there are different approaches to things that will work out for you. I'm going to tell you right now that the idea that you have to go like one brand over another brand is the only answer is silliness. For me, I like, and people get dogmatic about this thing. That's why I'm coming across in this way. If you haven't encountered I'm Team Army Painter, or I'm Team Vallejo, or I'm Team AK, they happen. Be ready. For me, I tend to be a lot more sensible about it. Everybody makes good paints. I collect a lot of... There's the meth of cooking art. They are absolutely world class. They're actually so good it's hard to follow along with their process. I don't know if you've ever tried to go to Angel Garaldes' stream and follow along exactly. I find that a lot of what they are doing is good likely because of who they are and how talented they are, as opposed to it being actual followable advice. That's just me. Where are we at here? For shouting out the nerd. There it is. Good morning, Danny. Where was I in my thought here? So this is what I use. I use Privateer Press. I have a lot of the P3 paints. They are very good. I also find their colors to be unique. When I look at Formula P3 paint, I see a color that they have, and there's not really too many equivalents out of Citadel or Vallejo or Army Painter. They make their own colors, and I like that. So I collect a lot of those as I'm working on different projects. And it's another thing. Accumulate paints over the course of a lifetime. You don't need them all tomorrow. That's a big, say it again, you do not need all the paints to start painting. Don't worry about that. All of these companies have certain paints that are rock stars, that are very, very good. And you will probably want to have them eventually. You do not, again, need them to start painting. Now, washes are very good, but also adding a little bit of water to a paint will make it a wash. If you take, if you mix up a wash by adding water to it and then dab your paintbrush off, it will take a lot of that excess water out of the brush. You're left with a more controlled substance. That's a glaze. There's that. I do love artist, inks. I collect these. These I like to have because you can add them to any color on your palette and make it more vibrant. If this was not a paint along and I wanted to add some of this in, I probably would add some of this to my green to make it a more vibrant green. Quite honestly, that's how we got this effect. So we look at Pyram here, which is just all opaque paints. It's 3 colors that we've mixed together. So you look here, we got coal black. Well, I guess it's 5 because we have black and white on either end. But we got black into coal black into Iosian green and then an off-white. And that's how we get this little hue shift. Nerd says to Nomadic, you mind if I give some advice as well? Please do. And meanwhile, this particular thing is emerald green ink sprayed over top of blue. And you can see that this is a very vibrant, interesting color to look at. But yeah, as far as washes go, whatever color you're after you can order, but there's not like a be-all end-all answer to that. Other than don't let people tell you have to go buy Nollan oil to start painting. I will tell you that you need this. This stuff's real good. This stuff, Instaset. It'll help your glue dry very, very quickly. Good stuff. But you're in the right place to get advice. Not with me. I mean, obviously, I love that you want to come talk to me. This is good. But in general, on Twitch, it's a beautiful community of helpful people. Go out of their way to advise on things. Just be careful, like anybody that tells you, oh, you must buy this paint line. If their advice is to go buy a line of paint, unless it's Justin from Amp Services telling you to go buy the starter of Army Painters paints because they're cost effective, like that might be the one. I disagree with him, but it doesn't make it good advice. Just me. Nerd404 says, so if you're starting out painting, firstly, welcome to the hobby. The advice is the easiest paint to start on Games Workshop and Games Workshop and Army Painter paints. These are easy to access. Most hobby shops sell them, but you can go to your local Games Workshop and have a painting session with their staff for free if you live in the UK, nerd. have a G-Dub shop anywhere near me. Where did I put my little guy? Where did he go? Nerd says, do US G-Dub shops not do free paint? Yeah, but where? How many of them do we have? All 8 of them? Garona says, us G-Dub shops are the same. US, yeah. I don't know where they are, though. I mean, I live in Pennsylvania. I've never seen one. I don't know. I'm just saying I've never seen one. I know there's one in Texas. But yeah, I apologize in advance for not having made too much progress. Well, we did cover the transitions and how to glaze them. While we're chatting, I'm going to try to... Verona says, I have 3 within an hour. I don't know where you live, but you need to share. Must be in a hotbed for miniatures. Why else would they all be in one place? Actually, I do believe there's one in the greater Pittsburgh area, but I don't know specifically where. I don't know what I got on this glove that's not covering correctly, but... Face says nerd. Nerd says I would also support buying the Army Painter huge paint set if you have to buy one paint set. It's good cost versions of the amount you... What is this even words? It's good cost versus the amount you get, but it's an $80 outlay for a set of paints you might not use. Nerd says, I think one thing most people don't understand is that the effect of Games Workshop versus Army Painter P3 Scale 75 is that they all have different texture and finish when dry. Some will be more matte, some more varnish, some will blend better, some will be more vibrant. You have to try a couple of paints in each line. I agree with that.
Check it.
I don't like Army Painter paint. Their washes seem really, really good. I don't like their paint. It doesn't make me right about it. A lot of people really do enjoy them. This is better. This is a better glove. I don't know what was going on before. It says it's the same as Ford versus Vaxel or Red Sox versus Green Bay Packers, Xbox versus PlayStation. Why do you pick baseball and football teams? Nerd. Oh no, Garonis, what is that? Oh yeah, that might be where the one in Pittsburgh is. Yeah, but that place closed down multiple times. I've never actually been out there. The owner was being like a turd about people painting models with other brands of paint. Something to that effect. Or I think people were ordering from Games Workshop and not ordering it through him. And he was like, oh, where'd you get all this stuff? And then people quit going there for a while. But that's also Ridgeville. It's out there. Grona says you have like 10 other IHS. We have a lot of independent sellers. But then again, I haven't been into Games Workshop in a long, long time. So I guess there's opportunity for things to have cropped up here. Local hobby shop, yeah. That's how I usually do it. If you live near me and we didn't just have a pandemic, I was getting ready to start doing a painting class every other month at my local hobby shop. Paint and take style. We got Jim Shaman. Hi, Nomadic. Hi, Chat. Hi, Garonis. Well, hello, good morning. You're catching us on the tail end of this thing. We're just answering a very complicated question. The only thing that could have rustled this thing harder would have been, what kind of agitator do you put in your paint? If you're ever looking to start an argument, that's how you do it. G-Top Store. Nixon says, I only have one bottle of Army Painter Dark Tone. For lining, I'm going to give Sanguine Base a go. Never crossed my mind before. Probably my favorite P3. Yeah, I mix Sanguine Base and Coal Black to make my dark lining color. That's my move. Yeah. All right. Let's wrap this up for the day. I got to get ready for work. For those of you that follows your life, thank you so much. For those of you that subscribe, thank you for the subscribes. They keep the lights on. They keep the paints flowing. For those of you that donate, I can't get over the fact, this month I've received 2 new brushes from supporters. It's just super humbling to get something like that. Thank you so much. And paint. Got some paint to go along with it. Carbon black. It's a very good black. Nixon says, I bought my Prophecy Independent, save 21 free next day delivery. Games Workshop have been shut down for a few weeks. There it is. Nixon says, good brush. Good brush brand. That gives me 000, 1, 2, and 4 from Raphael. And I have 000 through 3 in Series 7s. They're excellent brushes. To the patrons, you know what you do for me. Keep the dream alive. And yeah, now we're off to who can we raid? Let's refresh this. Who's online? I think it's gonna be Brush for Hire. It's the only one on. Is what it is. Daniel doesn't stream anymore. If anybody talks to Daniel today, let him know I said it. And I feel bad about it, but it's real. Let's see. Daniel anymore. Alright, let's get this boat in the water. So we're going to start a raid over to Brush for Hire. Another fantastic streamer. Keep you company for many hours. They're just kicking off, and Brush streams like it's a job. They rock it for, what do they stream, like 8 hours? Nixon says, good Brush, yes. For anybody that has any more questions on things, I'm happy to answer. For now, let's get this raid off so I can get my day going, and you all have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow morning.